Welcome everyone to the Public Works Facilities and Sustainability Committee. We have on our council members, Carol Anderson and Mark Zdanowicz, and we also have councilperson Tiffany McGinnis. And then we've got John Phillips and Bob Palmer and our manager Rick Ledwith. And we also noticed two guests, Bernie Pelletier and Emily Mooney Scott. I don't think I missed anybody, and welcome all. We'll start off, I'll call to order and seek a motion on the approval of minutes.
Second.
All right. Thank you. No objection. We'll approve those minutes. And then I guess first item of business is the ordinance establishing a sustainable West Hartford Commission. And I gather that's what our guests are for. So Rick, if you want to take the lead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a long time coming. But before we get into the substance of the ordinance, just as you did mention, we do have two guests with us this evening. We have Emily Mooney Scott, who represents our Conservation and Environment Commission, and then we have Bernie Pelletier, who represents our current Clean Energy Commission. And both Bernie and Emily, among a number of folks within both of their commissions, have been working very hard over the last year on this new ordinance change. And essentially what this does, this ordinance creates a sustainable West Hartford Commission. And the council may recall that the idea of combining Clean Energy Commission and Conservation and Environment Commissions first came up, I think it's like last March, actually. And it was a recommendation from our Sustainability Advisory Group. And as a result of those initial recommendations, Catherine Deviney, who unfortunately is not here tonight, and I just want to thank Catherine for all of her efforts throughout the past year. Catherine kicked off a series of meetings that started last June to bring together both groups with the idea of working together as a combined group that would be committed to promoting greater sustainability in West Hartford. I happened to attend the first two meetings last summer, June, and I think the second one was late July. And both meetings were very well represented from both commissions. At the time, we also had the Pedestrian Bicycle Commission, who were interested early on at the possibility, and they were very active early on as well. So I stepped aside after those first couple of meetings and let our experts run with the work through the year. But the groups essentially met monthly throughout the year to develop and refine the ordinance that is before you this evening. The Corporation Council had spent a lot of time with this ordinance as well, and made some recommendations and refinements, and essentially finalized this ordinance just this past month, or last month in April. So the next steps from a process standpoint, if Public Works Facilities and Sustainability was in agreement, we would place this ordinance on a future council agenda. And assuming it is approved at the council level, we would then begin the recruitment of the 11 members that would make up the Sustainable West Hartford Commission. And following the recruitment of those 11 members, at the council meeting where those new members are appointed by the town council, we would repeal the Conservation and Environment Commission at that point. So we'd be repealing Conservation and Environment Commission. We wouldn't have to do anything with the Clean Energy, because as it turns out, the Clean Energy Commission was formed by resolution, not by ordinance, as it turns out. So, so that's the process from kind of start to finish. A really, really quick summary of what took place. Obviously, there were a lot of conversations, a lot of work that were represented by both commissions, and Bernie and Emily are here tonight who represent both. And if it was okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I'd pause there and turn to Emily, who can share some of her insights, and then we can follow that up with Bernie.
Sounds good. Go ahead. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Well, I just want to thank everyone who has had a part in the brainstorming that led to this ordinance and the crafting of the ordinance and the consideration afterwards, to bring the story a bit closer to the present day. As Rick mentioned, we had the meetings over the summer to begin conceptualizing the new group. But then once it became clear that the balance of the members were in favor and were excited to work together, we began holding back-to-back meetings so that we would be participating freely in each other's meetings. And so I feel like we've had a really wonderful trial run for several months already. And so we know that we'll work well together, and we know what we'd like to be working on. We've been fortunate to have a number of town leaders stop by as guest speakers. So, we had Helen Rubino Turco, we had Todd Dumay. And so as we are working together and learning more about the posture of various critical matters that the town is facing, we've developed some interim plans and have been, again, holding discussions together already. And I'm really excited. I think this will be great. I think there's a lot of energy in both groups, and we've been working separately for many years, but I think the cross-pollination will be very fruitful. In particular, we have some new members on the Conservation and Environment Commission who are very passionate about sustainable land care and native plants, et cetera. And the educational experiences that the Clean Energy Group has had, sharing tips about electrified vehicles and clean energy, et cetera. That experience running educational programs can be deployed in service of some of these environmental issues that folks are interested in. And so that's just the first concrete example of cross-pollination that I find really valuable. So thank you for giving me the time and for your consideration. And I would urge, the council to move forward with this so we can, get going in earnest.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Bernie?
Thank you very much. I echo everything that Emily said. I admire, by the way, her ability to work the word pollinator into this discussion. Well done, Emily.
Every time.
I support this ordinance as it's been recrafted several times. If I have a single concern is that during the interim, as we go from what we are today to what we're going to be, that we don't lose momentum. So, and I've been assured that everybody on this call is going to help us get over those bumps. As Emily said, there has been an outpouring of energy, no pun intended, and engagement as we've reached out as a town to our residents to make West Hartford more sustainable in all of the facets of that word. So energy, lands and waters, people and institutions, roads and transportations. And I guess most pressing these days is how we reduce and responsibly deal with our waste. I think this new body that we are on the cusp of creating is going to have a broad enough scope and hopefully enough energized citizens that we're going to be able to grapple with these challenges effectively. I hope this ordinance proceeds swiftly. I think I'm going to say something that all of you on this call already know. The residents of West Hartford are a resource. I look at this commission that we're creating hopefully tonight or when the council meets as a way to engage that resource. There's a broad swath of opportunity that lays before we need to mandate, before we need to make rules. And that swath is made up of engaged citizens working, talking, and working with their fellow residents on common cause. And I think hopefully what we're doing here this evening is going to set that process in motion, and we're going to engage that swath of opportunity. So thank you very much for all your work.
Great, thank you very much. Rick, if you don't have anything else?
Oh, yeah, I just want to again thank Emily and Bernie and their respective members of both of their commissions for all of their work over the course of the last year, and Catherine Davini, who never gives up. You know, she she's an early bird like me, and she will stick her head in here at 7 in the morning and where's the ordinance? Where's the ordinance? She kept that thing on track. So I appreciate all of her hard work as well. And Cynthia for her work on the ordinance itself. So thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, happy to answer any questions that the council has.
All right, and do we have any questions? Any hands? I don't see any hands, so I'll guess not. But let me say to Bernie's last point, absolutely. You can't imagine how much we appreciate all the work that people put in on this and other committees. We can't do, town doesn't run without, the massive amount of volunteer work we get, on so many groups like this. And I'm very much looking forward to some outcomes and can't wait to see your report. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate you, and keep up the good work. And we'll try to get this done quickly.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll do our best. And
quickly in municipal terms, I understand.
that's right.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Folks.
Did get a text from Tiffany that she's having some trouble seeing the videos. I don't know if you're right, or maybe if you can contact her. For some reason, the videos don't seem to be working for her. And if your audio can hear me, I'm not sure if she's on. Okay.
I'll shoot her a text.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll go on to our reports. Who wants to go first?
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, we'd like Bob Palmer has a meeting later tonight. If it's okay with Mr. Phillips, Mr. Palmer will go first.
He jumped in line pretty quick there, so that's perfect. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, John, and everyone else for allowing me to go first. I appreciate that. So for my update, daily operations, we're doing well. No major building issues. The cooler weather has allowed us to delay the start of air conditioning a few weeks at least now. So we'll have a little bit of energy savings there. Majority of our buildings are two-piped, meaning we can only run heating or cooling at one time. So we kind of have to make an educated guess on weather, which is always difficult. But we're just this week began to switch buildings over to air conditioning in anticipation of the warmer weather starting this week, tomorrow and through the weekend. So we're doing well with staffing. We continue to do well, and which is kind of amazes me, but I'm very happy about that. So from Capital Elmwood Community Center, so we're still doing the RFP process. We're beginning the RFP process for the demolition design of that building. I'm hoping to have that out sometime later this spring or early summer, and begin demolition late fall and do it through the winter for the existing 100 Mayflower site. So capital projects, we're still seeing supply chain, labor shortages, some higher prices. Things have seemed to have calmed down. Things aren't escalating anymore. Some prices have come down. So we're seeing some more favorable bids coming in, which is nice. But we are still seeing constraints on supply chain, especially as I've mentioned before, large items such as generators and HVAC equipment, large electrical systems, again, 50, 60 week lead times on those types of materials. So it's still affecting what we're doing. So recently completed in current town projects, the animal control facility. We've pretty much wrapped up the design on that for the existing site, but we are, as you know, contemplating moving that to the newly acquired 705 Oakwood Avenue. So we're working our way through that process at this point. We've began the public safety facilities assessment a few months ago. Last week, the architectural and engineering team visited the 5 fire stations, along with the current fire training facility, the police shooting facility. And so the last thing on the list for next week will be the public safety complex on Raymond Road. So that'll be the end of their site visits. So DPW partial roof replacement, we were substantially complete on that project, and that went really well. It was a very mild winter, and we were able to do a roof project in the winter, which I don't think I've ever done in my career. So that's kind of an indicator of how the winter went. Townwide generators, we're still waiting to hear from the state on the possibility of that grant before we can proceed to bid at this point. We're designed and ready to go. So engineering offices on the 2nd floor in Town Hall, they're currently under renovation. It's a 2-phase project right now. We've divided the office space up into 2 phases. We're currently putting the demolition has been done for a while, and we're doing the build outs right now. So it's moving along quite nicely. So we'll be moving into phase 2 of that in the next few weeks. For the Board of Ed projects, currently the Duffy Fresh Air Ventilation Project is out to bid. We have a walkthrough next week with potential contractors, and the bids are due 3 weeks after that. Webster Hill, we're just finishing up the design right now, and then we're going to run it through some insurance reviews, and also we have a consultant on board to also just go through the plans before we put them out to bid, just to make sure they're correct. So tennis court replacements for the high schools. That final surface coating will be applied in June once the weather is warm enough to do that on a consistent basis. Auditorium seating for Hall, we're almost done with Hall. We have about 6 rows left. King Philip, we're in the middle of that process as well. We do small sections at a time in those projects. That way the auditoriums can still stay in use. So we take a row or 2 at a time and send it out for refurbishment. So flooring replacements this summer at King Philip and Norfolk, those are going on schedule. Restroom renovations, we have a bid in, and the project's been awarded for this summer, so we're good there. The front entrance security improvement is out to bid for Duffy. This is the last major renovation of an existing school entrance in order to bring it up to the current recommendations for school security. So that's currently out to bid and will be done this summer. On the Board of Ed side, we've received quite a bit of ESSER funding for playground improvements. So we've already installed new playground equipment at Woolkit. We have playgrounds on order for Duffy, Webster Hill, and Smith and Aiken are currently choosing playground equipment to be ordered. So, and those are items again that we're seeing very long lead times on, 6 months about. In the past, it was only a 2 to 3 month lead time, but it's pretty much double right now. So we're also doing some parking lot paving and reconstruction this summer at King Philip, the rear lot off of Mohegan, and then Braeburn, the main lot off of Braeburn Road. That will see a substantial change in the way it's configured. We're not changing the physical site of the parking area, but there will be the creation of a bus safety drop-off lane that will separate the buses from the parents dropping off. We'll also try to improve the parent drop-off area and pickup areas as well. So that's what all the updates I had. If anyone had any questions, back through you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you very much. I see Mark got his hand up first. Then we'll go to Carol. Mark.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that, Bob. I just had one question. You said that would be the last of it for the front entrances for the safety. Has there been any design changes for the KP school entrance? Because I know that's a difficult one to address, but I thought that we were going to look at something for that.
Yeah, we are. We're going to do a much smaller project on that. We're really going to take that existing vestibule as you walk into that building and create that secure what we call the man trap. So but it will be staffed as well, because we have that hallway between the vestibule and the school office that we can't compromise for fire safety and for traffic patterns. So that'll be modified too, but that'll be a much smaller project. So it really will entail replacing the doors, making those interior doors lockable. They currently don't lock. And then also creating a position there for a person to staff that. So they'll get buzzed into the vestibule, they'll be in the vestibule with a person, and then they'll get buzzed into the building from there again. So that it'll have the same level of security, but it's just going to require a staff person. So.
All right, thanks. So maybe I misheard you. So is that going to be the last one, or is that already, I mean, I thought you said that.
It's in design right now. So, but really the last element, I guess I meant the last elementary one. So.
Okay.
Was Duffy.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Carol?
Thank you, Councilor Winograd. Quick question for you. The tennis court replacements, and you mentioned you're waiting for the temperature. What is usually the ideal temperature for that final surface coating to be applied?
It has to be a minimum of 45 and rising. So the temperature can never, while it's curing, it probably takes about a week for that material to cure once they've applied it. So that's why we say June. So it has to be minimum of 45 and then rising. So it can never go below 45 degrees while it's curing. So.
Okay. And then just another follow-up question through you, Mr. Chair. With the playground improvements for the various schools listed, and I know you did say there's a long wait time, but I'm just curious now in terms of when that begins to take place. How do we secure that area just to prevent any injuries or curiosity from people who may, find themselves in a construction area, especially since it's a playground and inviting for children?
Yeah, so we utilize temporary fencing. We also work with the school. So we just did the Wolcott one with school in session. It took about 7 school days, work days to do it.
Okay.
So we were able to fence it, and working with the school, just try to keep people and kids off of it as best they can to control them and stuff like that. But the installation actually goes very quickly, so which is nice. So.
Okay. Thank you. That was it for me.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Tiffany, do you have any questions or?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, John, you want to ask him anything? Okay. If not, then Bobby, thanks. You can head off to your next appointment.
Yeah. Thank you.
I gave you a shot, John. So.
That's okay. Mr. Chairman, since Catherine's not here, do you want me to go over her sustainability?
Oh, yeah, if you could, that would be great.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we already dealt with the conservation and the combining of the two committees, which she had on her report. They did the two commissions, along with the West Hartford Public Foundation, did an Earth Day celebration in the parking lot of Town Hall on Saturday, April 22nd. It was the first time they had done it. They weren't expecting a large turnout, and the weather was okay, but not great. But they plan on doing it again next year. They've already booked that to do it next year, and they're going to try to make that an annual event. So that'll be a nice celebration for those two commissions and the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools as well. So Catherine's been working very hard on starting the Strategic Energy Management Program, which is a free technical assistance from Eversource. They've partnered with Cascade Energy out of Oregon to help us go through and look for over a 3-year period to look at the 16 schools and identify both low cost and no cost opportunities, as well as looking at our capital improvement program and opportunities for energy savings over time. So we did do a walkthrough this week at Bugby as the first kind of representative school. So it was interesting because there was a lot of things that we had considered in the last 5 or 6 years, and where the technology has probably that we didn't implement, where the technology has changed. So it might be more cost effective and advantageous at this time to go back and look at that. So that's a good program for us. It's going to be a good long-term thing, so they're going to help us go through a couple cycles of annual budgets and years, and help us to control our energy costs a little bit more. So we're very grateful for that assistance and that guidance that they're going to be able to provide us. So some really great news with the Utility Services Fund. So again, continue with the mild winter, and again, the kind of the cooler spring, and the need not to turn on AC so early. Looks like our utility budgets for the year will come in pretty flat for both the board and the town. So we still have some work to do on getting final costs, but it looks like it's going to really come in close to what we had estimated for a budget, which is great. So Catherine also mentions that we received about $124,000 formula grant through U.S. DOE's Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program. So that's great news, and I'm sure Catherine's got some great plans for that. The Capital Region Council of Governments also has a grant that they're trying to get caught up on this one, but they're grant that's available to the municipalities to assist the municipalities in their area. So we'll also be trying to take advantage of that. So as you know, Catherine will go aggressively after them and seeking out any of those funds. So John, Blue Earth, do you want to mention anything about that? You probably have more knowledge on that than I do.
Blue Earth is in my report, so I'll talk about the pilot program.
All right. And then so Catherine also wanted to give a shout out to the West Hartford Land Trust, who's been collecting the plastic film for the last few years and has collected over 4,200 pounds of plastic. And so they've been able to get benches donated, made out of Trex material based from that program. So that's a great program that's been going on for several years now. So, and you're going to talk about EV charging in your report as well, John?
Yes.
Okay, great. So that was all that Catherine had in her report. If there's any questions, I'll attempt to answer them.
All right. Thank you very, very much. We'll tell her that you did a good job.
Thank you.
Any questions? I do not see any hands. All right. Thanks. Now you can go.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great.
You don't have to, but if you want to.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm going to miss John's report.
Right.
That's okay.
John, I'll call you later. All right. Go ahead, John.
Okay, John Phillips, Director of Public Works, to the Chair, Ben Wintergard. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Again, we submitted our monthly report. We haven't met in a while, so there's a lot packed in there. So we tried to capture everything over the last, probably call it 60 days, March and April. But just to bring your attention to some of the biggest department notables, we continue to meet with LEE, which is our contractor, environmental contractor and engineer, and hopefully potentially developing a public-private partnership to develop the town's landfill, and by submitting our permit requests for a transfer station with DEP, as well as submitting final plans for the capping, the environmental capping of the existing landfill. That continues to be an in progress process. It's slow at this point because there's a lot of studying that has to be submitted and a lot of questions back and forth between DEEP and LEA, the engineering firm, but that continues to move forward. This is a very important process because the permitting will dictate the realization of what we can probably build there, what we can maximize the site for waste management needs. So understanding what DEEP will permit us for will drive the actual brick and mortar proposals we'll have for a material solution center. Our food scrap and pay as you throw pilot program did launch on May 1st. A lot of credit needs to go to Catherine Bruns and her volunteer team. We had some really good meetings at Morley School's cafeteria and discussions in advance of the launch. The team from Blue Earth successfully and very effectively and efficiently got all the resources out to the residents prior to May 1st. We obviously took in several questions. We're answering all the questions as they come in, but May 1st was our go live date, and it went very well. In just 2 collections, now we've only had 2 collections to date. We've already seen participation rate double, so we're over 50% participation rate on the food waste separation. And to date, in 2 collections, we've collected 2.3 tons of food waste, which I think it actually exceeded my expectations. We'd get that high that fast, but it's a testament to the education, the rollout process that Catherine led, as well as the astute awareness of our residents to want to participate. Obviously, we're hoping for a higher and much higher participation rate as we grow, as neighbors talk to each other, as questions get answered. This coming Monday, we'll start a tagging program where we'll start focusing on specific questions and getting answers out to the entire body. So, and that's a door-to-door leaflet or with your waste can. That's everybody has the same information and understands the topic points that we're discussing. But we're hopeful. It's still too early to do any kind of real data measurement on the pay-as-you-throw portion of it. The data comes a little bit slower based on where the tonnage is weighed and that information come in. But we're hopefully by our next meeting, we'll have some information on the pay-as-you-throw component of this. But from on the food side, with the help of Blue Earth, and they have been a big help. I think we're off to a very, very good start, very early. We continue to work with Stantec, the consultant, who we're working with to develop really basically a community charging plan, developing an EVSE system throughout the town. Really, and our focus right now is really creating and distributing a community survey. That's underway. We have a meeting scheduled. Well, we're in the process of scheduling a meeting with the Board of Ed to talk to the Board of Ed as an institution as far as how they see a charging plan working in their space. As well as starting public surveying, and we'll have our first public survey. Quick plug for our Public Works Open House next Saturday on May 20th. We'll have a very small survey at that event, but a larger survey will come. We'll go through working through the design, the business district, Kristen Gorski's group, the Chamber of Commerce, as well as having more of a public, so using our libraries to disperse information and get public feedback on electrifying our community. For the chair's request, winter operations, snow and ice control. As we all know, we saw it, we lived it. Winter was not to the extreme of anybody's recollection, certainly not in my 27 years in this business. All numbers are well below budget line items. We only use 41% of our funded overtime, 7% of our funded contractual services, and about 48% of our salt or treating materials that we had to purchase. It's important to note we did not use the 2,700 tons that's noted there, but we do have minimum purchases we have to make due to the way the contracts are structured. So again, we had a very favorable summer, and fiscally, that will favor us as we go into finish May and June, and Peter Pervitera and his department will be able to reallocate those funds where needed throughout the entire town's budget. That's really it for big notables. I'm happy to take any questions. I know there's a lot of packed information in there. I know we always give you a lot of information on the parking stuff, and we give that just for more of a awareness and put light on a very, very busy operation. I can say in talking with Brooke Nelson, the parking operations manager, we're anticipating an extremely, if there was a better word I could find one, I would, extremely busy spring and summer. Del Mar's reporting a 100% occupancy between now and the end of summer, as far as they can see, with a number of large, significant sellouts and buyouts, which will impact our parking operation because we're in the business of supporting their parking needs based on the way the site was developed for a hotel. It's an exciting opportunity for us to perform. It's a lot of organized chaos, but we're confident we can manage the chaos that comes with these kinds of events. It's a good problem to have, but I think the impact will definitely be seen within the center with a lot of activity. And I'll be happy to take any questions, whether it's in the report or anything else that might be on your mind.
Great. Thank you very much. Any hands? Council Anderson.
Thank you. John, I noticed the sidewalks, you're kind of playing catch up. And of course, as I continue to walk around town, I noticed, and I also noticed there's a couple of, I don't even know what you call them, panels or what have you, on our street that was also looks like it was replaced. So I know those have been challenges for the department. Can you speak a little to that, especially as we approach the summer, or I should say the warmer months?
Yep. Well, Carol, you are a walker. I've seen you out there, and good for you. If you see something really that statement, see something, say, please feel free to call either Public Works or call the engineering department. And certainly if it's a hot issue, we can certainly reprioritize and look at things. But the sidewalk maintenance program is a very difficult and challenging program. We've got well over 100 miles of public sidewalk, shared sidewalks between right-of-ways. For note for this committee, the engineering division of our community planning actually leads and heads up the sidewalk capital improvement program. Public Works comes in on hot items, things that can't wait to the capital improvement cycle that the engineering division does manage. It does carry the weight of a lot of our open work orders that are outstanding. Some of them get dated years back. And I guess it's just an analogy and just picking numbers out of the sky. If we repair, 1,000 sidewalks a year, we probably get 1,500 new problems a year. So, it's one of those situations where you'll never catch up. You'll always be playing way behind the 8 ball. And so that's why the engineering team is very good at reprioritizing, because things do change. But they do the best they can with allocated funds and resources to make the adjustments they can on the sidewalks. But that's in a nutshell what it is. But I think we're proud that we carry the numbers. We know what the problems are, and it helps us build budgets and understand where to put our resources. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Carol.
Thank you. And I'll try to remember. I always remember after I passed, I was like, I should have took a picture.
Pictures work great for us. They really, really do. And believe me, things do change. Things can change from week to week sometimes after a rainstorm or softness if the base course is just soft. We're not afraid to reprioritize and have to make a change if something changes.
Thank you. Mark, did you have any questions or? No, you're good. And Tiffany, I thought you had a question.
Yes, I was just wondering on the composting. Do we know like how many residents have called with questions or anything like that? I know that Sherry had gotten a couple emails from people, but and what are there similar questions or issues that people have?
I don't have a sheer number with me this evening. That's something Catherine Brunswick, who we do have a dedicated email line that came with the program. It's on everybody's brochure. But the questions are pretty much similar. Just the most common question is just how do I separate my food? That something simple as basic as that. And Catherine's excellent at educating and explaining, giving ideas of what they can do in their household. Others are just about placement, collection. Yeah, we're getting the phone calls that they're worried about, rodent issues, and which are common, and we expect those questions. But nothing has really thrown us off too much of a loop. Out of the entire 695 placements of barrels, only 2 residents are being stubborn. They didn't even take the barrel in off the curb. It's still sitting there. And so we had that discussion today. What do we do about those 2 residents who obviously just don't want to participate? And that's fine. We're probably going to remove it because we don't want the can to just sit out there. So I think the questions are expected and reasonable, and I think we're responding to everyone. But I don't think I don't think it's at a real high number.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, Tiffany is, in the zone, so.
She is in the zone. That's right.
I had a full bin this week, but that's only because I went out of town and all my produce ruined while I was out of town.
But that happens to every one of us. But at least you have a good resource. The food is going into the right location to be processed and not some landfill or incineration.
John, I will thank you, department. I did take advantage of the. I'm not in the zone, but I did take advantage of the sale of the bins. I got.
Yes. Yeah.
I put together my rotating bin. I was able to put it together. Mark would be amazed that I was able to do that. But so far, so good. I don't have dirt yet, but I'm trying. Working on it. So thank you. So unless anybody has any proposed future agenda items rather than our typical stuff, we'll adjourn the meeting. I don't see any objection to that, so we'll call the meeting adjourned. And again, thank you all for participating, and thank you, I guess, John, you're left for all your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a
Thanks,
good
everyone.
Thanks,
evening.
everybody.
Yeah,
Good night.
Good night.
have a great evening.